There's a new zero-tolerance policy kicking in at Brownsville. You get pulled over for a DWI and need to take the breathalyzer. No excuses. Joining us on 710 KURV, Police Chief of a blood test. Joining us on 710 KURV, Chief Orlando Rodriguez. Chief, good morning. Thanks for being with us. So tell me about this test, and is the driver paying for it if eventually found guilty, or does the city cough up the money? How does that work?
Well, basically, we cover the initial charges, but there are other ways to pay for these. There are different types of funds available, but they're really modest, the fees. And I will add that this blood test is only if you refuse a breath test. So that's the way that the system is set up to work. This policy.
It would seem that the situation might become a bit physical, Chief, if somebody says, "No, I'm not going to do the breath test," and then when you have to do the whole, the blood test, it gets, somebody's going to have to hold that arm down. You know what I mean? It might be kind of physical. You guys prepared for something like that?
Well, actually, we are, because we actually do this now. You got to realize that in serious cases and in incidents that result in serious bodily injury or death, a person is compelled to give to give a blood sample. And we do that at a local hospital, and it does mean strapping someone down. So we are prepared to do it. And we've done these operations in the past. We've had these details throughout the past couple of years during certain times of the year. The only difference now is that there's going to be a full-time policy.
All year round, you're going to be doing it as if it were like a major holiday and you're expecting some extra traffic. So why such extreme measures, Chief?
Well, there's a couple of reasons, and one of the important reasons is the fact that when we submit a case file to the district attorney's office, we want to make sure that case file has a lot of teeth to it and the evidence. When you look at our jail laws, invariably you'll see a lot of breath test refusals, and then so that makes it more difficult to prosecute these cases. Not that it can't be done, and the district attorney does a real good job of trying these cases. But that there's an important piece of evidence that's lacking, and that is an actual alcohol content report, be it a breath test or a blood test. But we just feel that evidence is crucial, and it'll help the district attorney prosecute more DWI cases.
You've done your due diligence on this, right? You're not going to be sued anytime soon as a result of somebody, saying, "Hey, your guys are going a little too far here."
Well, no, actually, these are court-tested cases. And again, like I said, we've had these policies and these operations. There are agencies throughout the state of Texas that have these full-time policies. We're just the latest agency, and we expect more to follow. But they've been tested, and obviously, we've done our due diligence and we've done our studies, and we see that, and we can have that policy, and that's what we're going to do. It's no different than now the policies when we do them, like you said, on major holidays, different times of year, and without issue. The only difference now is it's going to be full time.
If you refuse a breathalyzer, you will be forced to give some blood in Brownsville. Joining us on 710 KURV, Chief Orlando Rodriguez with PD.
Chief Tim Sullivan here. Good morning over there.
Tim, how are you?
Doing well. Going on the kind of the same vein that Serge is here, there does seem to be a real fine line, though, between enforcing the law and violating a person's privacy rights. In fact, some would say still that this type of procedure goes over that line, that nobody, for no reason, should be subjected to, what amounts to a medical procedure, really, without their consent. How do you view the privacy aspects of this?
Well, you just stated right now, you're saying nobody for no reason. We're talking about a situation when you have reason to believe, you have a probable cause, you have all of the elements, and an officer will take all the steps necessary to establish that a person is driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated. And so with that, it's eventually an officer would fill out a complaint and would be reviewed by a magistrate, and that magistrate has a decision, has the authority to say yes or no. So all of the key elements are there, and it's not going to be a matter of someone just an officer pulling someone over and they suspect that they're DWI and then getting a warrant for their blood. You're talking about we have all the steps that are in place to establish that probable cause that the person is driving under the influence, and it's not just mere suspicion; it's probable cause that they are.
So if you can force them to take a blood test, why can't you force them to take the breathalyzer first?
Well, the driver has the option. They're not going to be taken to do a blood test. They're going to be taken in like we do now, like we do through our procedure now. They will be taken to city jail and asked to submit to a breath test. So that's their decision. If they decide not to take a breath test, if they refuse a breath test, then the next step would be to get a search warrant for the blood. It's not going to be take someone immediately to get their blood drawn. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, the details that we have had in the past have resulted in drivers opting to take a breath test, and we've actually had some that have opted to take a blood test. The driver has the option, and you got to remember that driving is a privilege, and so there are some responsibilities that the drivers have. So that's really how it works out.
What's more accurate, the breath test or the blood test?
Well, they will both give you what is needed. They will give you one or the other. They're both accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as that's concerned, to determine the blood alcohol content in a person's system.
Yeah, you'd think that perhaps putting a mask on an individual would be less invasive than a needle at the hospital and getting the alcohol content from a person like that. Okay, so taking this to a year-round, the whole year-round aspect of it, if that's going to work for you, then why not just set up year-round, checkpoints at certain arteries near clubs, near bars, and see if you can throw the net out there and catch a few more people that you want?
Well, it depends on how you want to set up your operations, and and anybody can come across a suspected drunk driver at any time of any day of the week, any night of the week. So the policy's there. It gives guidance. It gives directions to the officers. Yes, you can do checkpoints. You can do sobriety checkpoints, and there are different things you can do. But I think we're losing sight of the big picture here, and the most important thing is safety for people. I mean, last year alone, there were almost 450 drunk driving arrests in Brownsville, 174 alcohol-related tests. I think we need to look at what is really important out there, and that is safety for citizens.
No, understood. Now, we can give police and state agencies all the power to keep us safe in every aspect of life. But but there's also the issue of liberty, personal responsibility, and privacy. There are a lot of issues that are at stake here. They're going back and forth. You've already implemented this policy. This is up and running as of now, right? Or last week when you kicked it in, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so this is not an experimental basis. It is for the foreseeable future. You will continue with this policy in Brownsville. It will be refused breathalyzer. You will be forced to get poked by the needle and give some blood. That's the policy.
That's the bottom line.
All right, sir. Well, Chief, we'll keep in touch. Chief Orlando Rodriguez from Brownsville PD joining us on 710 KURV.